moving you from Ireland to Scandinavia, mainly Iceland. Usually, when we think of medieval Scandinavia, we usually think of Vikings. And when we think of Vikings, we tend to think of warriors, pillaging, invasions, of Thor and all his mythological friends, and mistakenly of horned helmets. But yes, that's more or less the picture we have in our head. And we forget of their wonderful literary production, of their travels to the continent and way beyond, bringing back spices and herbs, but most importantly, bringing back to Scandinavia and Iceland scientific and medical knowledge from the continent. Tonight, I'm going to start with the 21st century, more precisely to last year, when I went to get my eyesight tested. And my optician, who was intrigued by my work in Old Norse literature, told me that there is an eye disease that in optician slang is called Viking disease, and which is scientifically known as pseudoexfoliative glaucoma, which is characterized by sort of gray flecks on the lens capsule and many extraocular tissues. My optician then commented that it's quite present also here in Ireland, you know, with all the stuff the Vikings did over here. So that's how it ended and my discovery of the Viking disease. There is another type of modern condition that is referred to in lay terms as Viking disease, and it affects the hand, and it's called Dupuytren's contracture. And the Dupuytren's contraction is a condition in which one or more fingers become permanently bent in a flexed position. It is a condition that most often occurs in males over the age of 50, and it mostly affects white people. And in Norway, about 30% of men over 60 years old have this condition. Here we are with some Viking-related diseases, and yet the study of medicine and medical knowledge in medieval Scandinavia is still just at its early stage. But to go back to the Viking disease of the eyes that I mentioned, I can tell you that just like any sort of lit book circulating or medical text circulating in the medieval North Atlantic world, so England, Britain, Ireland, the Scandinavians were also concerned about painful eye diseases. This eye remedy is one of the several remedies for a disease affecting the eyes. It is found in the only complete Icelandic medical manuscript extant, dated around to the late 15th century, and now kept at the Royal Irish Academy in Dublin. So this is the remedy. But if a tissue is formed over the eye, take a live swallow and cut its head with a glass so that the blood runs off the glass into the eye. Then it will depart. For the same, take 9 bits of goat dung and 9 laurel berries and 5 peppercorns and atrament, and mix with honey and rub on the forehead of the sick. Not too sure which one of the two I would have preferred, but there you go. So I assure you, there are less gruesome and less soil-related ones. But this remedy is not unique to medieval Scandinavia, as it is similar to the remedies found in the Old English Lich Book. And I'm sure Siobhan and Deborah might tell me that there might be a similar one also in the Irish remedies. However, as knowledge of medicine and science reached Scandinavia much later than in Britain, it benefited from medical knowledge coming both from England as well as from Southern Europe. Interestingly, for a couple of remedies, as the scribes were aware that not all ingredients were available so far north, the scribe of the manuscript writes that in the south, meaning Europe, they would have used different ingredients. I know I promised less gruesome remedies, but since it's Friday the 13th, I couldn't resist to add this one to cure boils. Here is of boils. If a boil comes upon a man's hand, take a cat and kill it, and stick the hand in it while it is warm. Then bind it till the 2nd day. Do this 4 times if necessary, and take each day a live cat. That draws out dangerous infections. So please don't go around killing the cats in your neighborhood this weekend if you have a boil on your hand. The other remedy on this slide, which I won't read out, and you can read it out, it's fairly short, is for fever. And just as we have heard from Deborah and Siobhan, many remedies combined the recipe with a prayer or with special words that needed to be recited. So, or some sort of ritual, as in this case, washing the cross in holy water and then drink or bathe it in that water. Healing charms are also mentioned, not only in medical manuscript, but in some Icelandic sagas, such as the saga of St. Margaret, where there are charms about childbirth, or sort of for an easy delivery of childbirth. And in Egil's saga, which is a wonderful saga if you have a chance to read it, where there are runes, Egil carves runes to detect poison in a drink, or kind of finds mistakes in another runic inscription that are making people sick. So we can also find a Norse charm against blood poison in an 11th century Old English manuscript, British Library, Cotton Caligula A15. This is a charm against blood vessel pus. And Thor seems to be used here, as well as in other charms that are found in Germany, for protection against illnesses or other misfortunes. Geril Wundkoser, go now, you are found. May Thor bless you, Lord of Ogres. Geril Wundkoser against blood vessel pus. Medical knowledge is present not only in medical or scientific manuscript, but it is also present in literary text. And I think this is really the peculiar feature of Old Norse literature. Its realism allows for a depiction of ailment, of cures, surgery, as well as magic. This Eddic poem, these two stanzas from an Eddic poem, highlight the power of the earth and its fruits to use for healing purposes, along with healing hands. And there is the myth of healing hands in the creation of the medical profession in Scandinavia, and I can talk more about that later. And knowledge of healing runes as well. So as I mentioned before, there were runes carved for healing purposes in order to cure and attend sick people. The healing tradition of charms continued also in the early modern period. This is the Colic Leaf that can be found at the National and University Library of Iceland. This parchment is 50 by 10 centimeters and dates back to around 1600. Some of the letters are somewhat obscure and in some places illegible. The text, which is in Latin and Icelandic, is a charm against colic and gout. This parchment, or this leaf, contains passages in Latin of the New Testament from the book of John and the book of Matthew, and incantations in Icelandic. You can't really notice from this picture, but there are some holes at the extremities, at the two extremities, where most probably some laces were attached so that the patient could wrap it around its body or her body. I'm going to conclude with a recipe that you might want to try at home. Don't worry, you won't have to kill any swallows or cats. The Icelandic medical manuscript I mentioned at the beginning, that is in Dublin at the moment, kept in Dublin, ends with a cookbook, one of the oldest known collections of the 13th century of European culinary recipes, which survives in Icelandic, Danish, and Low German. Maybe next time we should do a cook along, Sharon, in order to prepare this chicken hunter style, which uses many of the common ingredients used for the medical remedies that you find throughout the manuscript. Thank you.